Okay, so have you ever been part of something that just takes off? Like maybe a community project or your team at work, maybe even just your family growing?
Yeah, that kind of expansion.
Exactly. It's exciting, right? You see things happening, new faces, bigger impact.
Definitely.
But, almost always with that growth, new kinds of challenges pop up, stuff you didn't expect.
Mm.
How do you keep everyone pulling in the same direction? How do you make sure people don't feel kind of lost in the shuffle or, overlooked?
That's a big one.
And crucially, how do you stick to your main goal, your core purpose, when suddenly there's just so much more to do?
Well, that's pretty much the universal challenge, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's exactly what we're diving into today.
Good point.
Our mission, really, is to unpack how some early communities, way back, navigated these very pressures. We're going to look specifically at that
Balance between.
between, keeping focus on the big picture, the mission, the vision,
Yeah.
and actually taking care of the practical day-to-day needs of the people involved.
Right, the nuts and bolts.
Exactly. And the insights we're drawing on today, they come from the H7O Ministries Daily Devotional. It offers some surprisingly relevant ideas for healthy growth, for any group, really.
And relevant is definitely the word. I mean, as we dig into this, you'll find these timeless principles that show how real, healthy growth happens when, well, the devotional puts it perfectly, when the altar and the table go hand in hand.
That's such a great image.
Isn't it? Think of the altar as like your core mission, your values, the why, and the table is the practical stuff, the serving, the operations, looking after people.
If you neglect one.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
whole thing starts to wobble, right? It starts to fray.
Makes sense.
So let's get into this case study from the H7O devotional. It takes us back to the early church in the book of Acts.
Okay.
Now, on the surface, things look amazing. I mean, rapid growth, like really fast.
Feels like a good problem to have.
You'd think. Pure win, right? More people, wider reach. But the devotional points out this very success, it brought with it internal tensions.
There it is.
Yeah. Specifically, it mentions a very human issue, neglected widows. And alongside that, these murmurings started up. Basically, grumbling, complaints, disunity bubbling under the surface.
The real practical needs weren't being met.
Exactly. It wasn't some high-level debate. It was tangible. People were feeling genuinely left out, and it was causing friction. Big time. It threatened the whole community's health.
And the devotional really stresses how serious this was. It wasn't just like a minor inconvenience.
Right.
The problem, it says, was an attack on the unity of the church,
Yeah.
which highlights something huge, I think.
Yeah.
Practical problems in any group, they often signal deeper issues.
Yeah.
Issues that can really erode trust and undermine the whole point of what you're doing.
Mm.
The devotional says, service is a spiritual field.
I like that.
Yeah. It means how you handle the practical stuff isn't just about being efficient. It's like fundamental to the group spirit. It's cohesion.
Yeah.
If that support structure is shaky, even the best vision will just falter.
That totally makes sense. So, okay, this tension is building. The leadership, the apostles in this story, they're in a tough spot.
Right. Pulled in two directions.
Exactly. Their main job, their calling, was clear. Devote ourselves to prayer and the ministry of the word. The big picture, the teaching, the inspiration.
The altar part.
Precisely. They knew they couldn't drop that ball. But they also couldn't just ignore the real practical needs of people who were being left behind.
So what did they do?
Well, their solution, as the devotional highlights, was pretty brilliant, actually. Strategic. They decided they needed to raise up spirit-filled servants.
Okay.
Specifically, 7 people, and the description is key. They had to be of good standing, full of the spirit and wisdom. Their job was to handle the practical service, the table part.
You know what's fascinating there is both the strategy and the spiritual insight. This wasn't the apostles just dumping tasks they didn't want.
No, not at all.
It was about expanding the whole idea of ministry, of leadership. It shows us something critical. Any thriving community needs both. It needs that core mission, the altar, but it absolutely needs the practical, people-focused operations, the table, working smoothly alongside it.
Yeah, they have to go hand in hand.
You can't have one without the other for real healthy growth. Think about like a startup. Great idea, amazing vision, that's the altar.
Yeah.
But if no one's handling customer service or billing or shipping,
The collapses.
pretty quickly.
Exactly. So this ancient story gives us this foundational blueprint for any group that wants to grow well and last.
Absolutely. Okay, so What are the big takeaways here? What did they learn, and what can we actually use today?
Mm-hmm.
The H7O devotional boils it down to some really potent principles.
Mm-hmm.
The first one feels very real. Growth brings challenges, requiring spiritual organization. We saw it right there in Acts. The tensions came because they were growing so fast.
Right. It tells us that just getting bigger isn't the whole story. You have to get, well, smarter about how you grow, and that smarter often means putting intentional, values-based structures in place to keep everyone together.
Yeah, and those challenges, they aren't just roadblocks. They actually, they test the community, don't they? They force a choice.
What choice?
Well, either let the division grow because needs aren't met, or step up with thoughtful, people-focused organization to actually strengthen the unity. Remember, the devotional said it was an attack on unity.
Right, not just logistics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how a group organizes itself to serve its members is deeply connected to its overall health, its ability to actually do what it's set out to do. Like a volunteer group growing fast, if they don't figure out how to manage new people or tasks well, they risk burnout, conflict.
Regardless of the mission, yeah. Okay, that leads right into the second principle. Practical service is as spiritual as the ministry of the word. Now, this is powerful.
It really is.
When the apostles looked for people to manage the daily distribution, they weren't just after good organizers.
No, the criteria were deeper.
Yeah, these servants, the deacons, had to be filled with the Spirit. It wasn't just about skills, it was character, commitment, embodying the group's values.
Mm-hmm.
And this just highlights that serving tables is as noble as preaching. It kind of challenges our usual ideas about what's important work or spiritual work.
It absolutely does.
Whether you're leading the big meeting or just making sure everyone feels welcome and cared for, every act of service, even the small unseen stuff, it matters deeply.
And if you zoom out, this principle just elevates all kinds of service. It reminds us that, success isn't just about the visible leaders.
Right.
It equally depends on the quiet, often invisible work of people making sure things run smoothly, making sure people feel looked after. The devotional says, God honors the humble heart in that unseen work just as much as the stuff on stage.
That's a great point. Like a sports team, the star gets the attention, but the trainers, the staff behind the scenes.
They're essential. Their service makes the star's performance possible, even if nobody chants their name.
Exactly. Which brings us nicely to the third principle. Delegating wisely maintains focus and expands reach. The H7O devotional puts it plainly. When leaders focus on what God has called them to do and empower others to serve, the entire church thrives.
Yeah.
This isn't about leaders just offloading work. It's strategic. It's about multiplying the impact, extending the reach of the whole group by using everyone's different strengths.
It's about empowerment, really.
Yes, empowering others strengthens the whole system.
And this raises a really good question, I think, for you listening. How could empowering others in your situation, your team, your family, your community group, actually make the whole thing stronger instead of, taking away from your own role?
That's a great question.
Because true leadership, like in this Acts example, isn't trying to do it all yourself. It's figuring out what you are uniquely meant to do, and then equipping and trusting others to step up where they're gifted.
Like that startup founder again, right? They start doing everything, but to grow, they have to delegate. Customer service, marketing, whatever. It frees them up for strategy, and the whole company benefits from specialized skills. It's a win-win. Focus and capacity increase. Okay, so this is all really practical. What does it mean for you listening right now in your own life? The H7O devotional gives us some great questions to chew on.
Mm-hmm.
First, have I valued practical service in my own circles as a genuinely foundational, maybe even spiritual ministry?
That's a tough one sometimes.
It is. And second, am I willing to serve where I'm needed, even if there's no spotlight, even if it's not the glamorous job? These really make you think about how we define impact, don't they?
They absolutely do. And beyond just thinking, the devotional offers practical steps, things you can actually do to help maintain that balance between the altar and the table.
Okay, like what?
Well, first it says, revere simple service. Basically, serve in those unseen roles with the same passion and commitment as those who are, up front. Remember, value isn't always about visibility.
Yeah.
Second, pray for wisdom and spiritual empowerment to serve. The devotional reminds us that a genuine desire to care for others, combined with humility, that's powerful. It opens the door for real impact.
Makes sense.
And finally, seek to build unity. Understand that where there is service with love, murmuring, and division lose ground. It's profound when people feel genuinely cared for and seen.
The reasons for complaining just sort of dissolve.
Pretty much, it's an incredibly strong force for keeping a group together.
Okay, and here's something the devotional really emphasizes, and I find it, well, really interesting. It says, the growth of the church does not depend on a full stage, but on spirit-filled servants willing to work in the unseen for the glory of God.
Wow.
Yeah. It means real strength isn't just about the big, flashy stuff. It's built on the quiet, dedicated, often invisible work of people meeting practical needs while holding on to the core values. It completely reframes success.
And that truth, that idea of servant leadership, it echoes through so many wisdom traditions, doesn't it? The most impactful leadership is often selfless service. Leaders who empower others, who step back so the team can shine. This ancient principle service as foundational, not secondary, it's a blueprint for how any community, any organization can genuinely thrive. The core message is just crystal clear. The big vision moves forward best when the strategy is strong and the daily practical stuff is handled with just as much care and respect.
So wrapping up our deep dive today, the big takeaway from the H7O Ministries devotional is that healthy growth, lasting unity. It's not just about dynamic leaders or big numbers.
No.
It really hinges on that crucial balance, focusing on the core vision, the altar, while empowering humble, spirit-filled service that meets real practical needs, the table. Every act of service, seen or unseen, matters enormously.
Which leaves us with maybe a final thought for you to take away this week.
Right.
How does really embracing the value of that unseen service change how you think about impact and success?
Ooh, good question.
Not just in a church setting, but anywhere. Your work, your community group, even your family. What would it actually look like for you to embody that servant's heart in your everyday life, in the roles you have right now?
Lots to think about there. We really want to thank the H7O community for sharing this incredibly insightful daily devotional with us.
Absolutely.
You can learn more about the ministry and how to support their work by visiting h7o.life. That's H7O.life.
Great stuff to explore there.
Definitely. Okay, that's all for today. See you tomorrow.